Welcome to yet another episode of Let's Talk with Annette for today, Friday, August the 11th in the year 2023. I trust that your week started on a positive footing. You were able to accomplish that what you would have set out to accomplish during the course of the week, and you're preparing for your weekend activities. And as you preparing for your weekend activities, kindly ensure that caution, care, consideration, and all other things are taken into consideration, because it's really wild west out there. So I just want to encourage you to be safe and to be on the watch, on the lookout for what might be happening out there, right? That being said, I know it is a weekend that we all would be looking forward to, at least rest a bit amongst every other thing. I just want to start off tonight's program by extending best wishes to those of you who might have celebrated a birthday early up in the week, and for those of you who might be having a birthday over the weekend or today. So as you celebrate, or as you prepare to celebrate, I pray that Almighty God blessings will be with you, and may He give you extended life, extend your boundaries, so that you can live to see many other birthdays. And also I also want to extend best wishes to those persons who might be having a wedding anniversary this week. So a big congratulations to each and every one of you, and may I encourage you to continue to love one another, to respect one another, to be dedicated to that union and be committed, and most of all ensure that God is in the center of it all, because He is the one who would have created this union called marriage, right? So please ensure that you continue to love one another, right? Also, I want to extend sympathy to those who might have lost a loved one, and I pray that Almighty God will continue to give you the strength, the courage, and the strength, the courage, and the solace to move on. It's not easy losing a loved one, I can tell you that. It's not easy losing a loved one, and there's no one that can really replace that void, that person's that loved one that you had in your family, right? So may you be comforted at this point in time, and may Almighty God continue to give you strength as you prepare to move on, right? So my deepest condolences to each and every one of you, right? That being said, tonight is Friday night, and I know many of you might be out there sporting up, but I find it necessary to come on to this platform where I can continue to educate, where I can continue to unfold the facts, the truth, and also to inform you as to matters and issues confronting our beloved nation. I also want to say to each and every one of you that I know for a fact that many of you might have been looking forward to the program on Wednesday, day before yesterday, but it could not have been possible because we had a sitting of the National Assembly, which I will discuss later in the program. So that's why I'm hosting the program live this evening, Friday evening. But I'm indeed happy to be in your homes, and I trust you're happy to have me a part of your home this evening. I like smiling, so kindly excuse me. I just like smiling. So every now and then you would see me smiling to things, right? So that is just me. All right. I also want to remind each and every one of you that continuous registration is on. Continuous registration is on, and the period or the months might look very far, but time waits on no man, so time continues to fly. So I want to say to each and every parent, guardian, grandparent, whomever you are, that the Ghana Elections Commission, they have started the continuous registration. I think it might have been sometime in the month of March of this year. So you have until November 30th, 2023 to get yourselves registered. If you have never registered, you're a Guyanese by birth, and you've never registered, please ensure that you utilize this period to get yourself registered. Secondly, if you have a child that will attain the age of 14 by December 31st, 2023, that child can now be registered. So I just want to make it clear that the process is a very simple one. It takes less than an hour to conclude on the process, and all that is required of you is just a birth certificate. Yes, a birth certificate. If you don't have a birth certificate, because sometimes, because we don't oftentimes use the birth certificate, or sometimes we use the birth certificate probably, if not every day, but occasionally or frequently, you'll find sometimes it gets a little defaced and all manner of things, right? So please ensure, if your birth certificate is kind of defaced and it has a lot of, you gotta tear some, especially where the information, the critical information are, GCOM will not use the birth certificate to proceed with the process of having you registered. So what you can do in the placement of that, if you have a valid passport, not an expired one, you may have a passport, but the time has elapsed and you did not renew your passport, you can, and once it is valid, you can utilize the passport to conduct the registration process. If you're a married woman and you need your name to change, whether it's from Ferguson to Collins or other, all that is required of you is to take in the actual ID card, if you have one, also with your marriage certificate, and you can have that name change done. And for persons who may want to have their change in addresses done too, you can utilize this process to get it done. So please, I'm encouraging you, I'm urging you, so that you can encourage others and urge persons, right, to get registered. As I have been saying on this program, and I will continue to say it, because sometimes we need to remind ourselves and also remind others. So I will continue to say to you that we need to encourage others to get registered, right? And people might think that this ID card is basically for voting purposes. No, your ID card is for more than that. At age 14, that child can go and open a bank account. We can also utilize the ID card for job. Whenever we apply for a job, the requirements would be an ID card or a passport, some valid identity notification must be given. Also, you can utilize the card to conduct business, whether at NIS, GRA, at the banks, as I've said. Otherwise, sometimes you're leaving Port Georgetown through Mulson Creek there to head over to Suriname. You might require to show your ID card. And even here in Guyana, moving from region to region, especially if you have to fly by air, you have to tender that ID card at the counter of the at the check-in place there. So it is more than using the ID card for voting purposes, right? So it is important that we all get registered for those persons who have not been registered. And as I said before, we have GCOM offices across the 10 districts. In Georgetown here, you have 4 offices. You have one in Church Street, that is just obliquely opposite Austin's Book Services. You have the main office there on the main office in Metro. Metro is another outlet there on Crowell Street, upstairs at the Metro building. You have one in the compound here at Transfiguration Church on Mandela Avenue, opposite the Texaco gas station. And you also have the other office on Sheriff Street, William and Sheriff Street, Georgetown, right? So please, if you're encountering any difficulty, you also have the offices of the PNCR. You got the office in Durban Street. You have the National Congress of Women headquarters in Kitty, Public Road, Kitty, or you have there's an office in East Rumfeld. There is one in Agricola. There's also the main office there in Sapphire, Congress Place, Sapphire. So please, or you can reach out to any leader, whether myself and other MPs or any other senior leader in the party, and we will provide you the necessary guidance and assistance that you need. So I am going to re-emphasize once more, registration, continuous registration is in progress. The offices work from Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 from Monday to Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. on Friday. So please, that's all I can do from this level, is to encourage you. And if you need the assistance, do not be fearful, do not be shy, but please reach out to us so that we can help you, right? I can be easily accessed just through my Facebook page or my messenger, so I can provide the necessary assistance that is required. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening I will be touching on my topic this evening. It's an update on parliamentary matters. And for me, I believe this particular topic is quite important and it is relevant at this time. And you will get a sense as to the reason or reasons for me saying this. Because as I said to you last week, Friday when I was here, I did indicate to you that the Parliament was meeting on the 9th of August 2023. And every year the parliamentarians, we would normally go into a recess, right? It's like a kind of vacation. And that is from August 9th to October 10th, right? So we will be out. We won't be getting much, coming out from the Parliament, whether live or otherwise, because we're currently on recess. But that being said, I indicated last week that I will continue to do my work as a member of Parliament, whether there's Parliament Whether recess or no recess, I will continue to do my work. I will continue to monitor what is happening out there as it relates to the different projects this PPPC regime is doing at the behest of our tax dollars, and how these monies are being accounted for and how they're being utilized. And I will also be hosting my program to ensure that I bring you the necessary information you so deserve. This evening, I don't think I will open the phone lines this evening, because, you know, I want to unfold and, you know, break down so that issues and matters, so that you can have an appreciation of what I have to share here this evening. I know also I'm streaming live on my Facebook page as Honorable Annette Ferguson. So for those of you who are not at home, but you're out, you know, socializing, take some time out. Take some time out to listen to what Madam Ferguson has to say. So that being said, let me go straight into the topic for this evening. And I must let you know of the issues that we discussed at the sitting last Wednesday. That was the day before yesterday. And the sitting, you wouldn't believe, my brothers and sisters. Yes, while we have a duty as members of Parliament to represent you, the people who would have elected us to do so, right? I believe as a human being, I mean, you can work people from 10 in the morning way into the next morning. Something is definitely wrong. So the National Assembly, that was the 67th sitting of the National Assembly. We met on Wednesday, August the 9th, you know, a couple hours before midnight, before we proceeded into recess. And according to the order paper, we had a number of matters to discuss. So we had questions on notice. That was the responses that were required were basically for oral replies, and there were 3 questions tabled by me to the Honorable Dr. Ashley Singh, and 2 of the questions dealt primarily with the repossession of lands at Peters Hall, East Bank, Demerara. The other question dealt with the procedure that was used by Nissil for sale of these repossessed lands. And I can tell you, you know, sometimes in the Parliament, that is where, when members of Parliament ask questions, you expect that the minister or any member responding, they must provide accurate responses. Because what you find happening, the information will now be recorded in the official report, which is commonly known as the Hansard of the National Assembly. So, you know, 20 years, 50 years from now, the younger generation, you know, who will be parliamentarians, you know, they will look back to see what some of the issues that were discussed, what Ferguson might have said, what other colleagues of mine would have contributed on a particular thing, right? So what you find happening in most cases, sometimes these PPP installed ministers is believed that, well, look, that is utilize the Parliament to parade, you know, to do the politicking in the Parliament and not really bringing the correct responses that are required. Because as elected representatives, we are duty bound to you, the people, to come back to you, to say to you, well, on this particular issue, the questions were put to the relevant minister, and these are the responses provided, right? So that is our responsibility to you. So, at Wednesday's sitting, Dr. Ashley Singh went off, said what the APN you didn't do and what the PNC. I don't want to hear that. I want you to answer, give me relevant responses to my questions. Don't stand dance in the National Assembly. And the other question had to do with the percentage of population enumerated. Look, we got a census, a national census going on. It has been, next week we'll make 1 year since this national census is ongoing. And I mean, I expect because by now, across the 10 administrative regions, you would know that from Region 1, if their population size is about, let us say, 15,000, you would know that, well, look, from Region 1, we were able to complete a 20% of the total population size, and right down to Region 10. But these people believe that they can stand in the National Assembly and try to insult people's integrity and believe as though people know what they're asking about. Those boys on that side of the house believe that they're the smartest thing ever, but they're not smart. They think they're smart, but they know what they're smart for: corruption and putting their sticky fingers every now and then in the consolidated funds. So we'll get to that shortly, right? I also have a question or two, and the person who is to respond to this question is Madam Gail Teixeira, concerning overseas visits by His Excellency the President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali. So I'm the person who is asking the Honorable Gail Teixeira to inform the National Assembly of the countries visited by His Excellency the President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali from August 2nd, 2020 to March 17, 2023, and the cost associated with each visit. Yes, I have a right to ask those questions. And I also have a similar question for overseas visits by Vice President Bharat Jagdeo. Yes, he too, I'm asking the minister to provide information on the countries visited by Bharat Jagdeo from August 2nd, 2020 to March 17, 2023, right? And the costs associated with each visit. But then again, you might be asking yourself, why up to May 17, 2023? You see, at the time of me preparing these questions, it was in the month of May. But because of how the government calls or set the agenda for the National Assembly, we're not meeting regularly. So many of the questions that have been tabled, either by myself, by me or my other colleagues, you cannot get the responses in time. It comes until 3 months after, days after, weeks after, because we're not meeting regularly to discuss the nation's business. Because you know what? Those boys don't want to be scrutinized. They don't want to be scrutinized. They don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to be transparent when it comes to doing the people's business in the National Assembly. So I'm awaiting those responses, and I also asked questions on the benefits. You know, what Guyanese will be benefiting from these overseas visits, because at the end of the day, it is our tax dollars, yes, our tax dollars, that really fund these people travel, their accommodation, and all other things that goes with the traveling, right? So yes, as I said, we met on Wednesday from 10 a.m. Wednesday morning up to we left the National Assembly at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. Thursday morning. So we started 10 a.m. Wednesday the 9th of August 2023 and ended 7 p.m. on Thursday, August 10th, 2023. But you know why? As I said before, this is happening because of the way the People's Progressive Party Civic is treating the National Assembly. They hurriedly, after 71 days, they hurriedly called a sitting last week, the 3rd of August, where they laid a few bills. They also laid a financial paper, which I shared last week Friday, for 61 billion Guyana dollars. So at Wednesday sitting, you had the examination or the consideration of financial paper number 3, current and capital estimates. Now, my brothers and sisters, this supplementary or this financial paper was basically the government seeking an additional 61 billion and change, right, to the current budget that they got in February of 2023. The budget that passed in February 2023 was deemed the biggest budget ever. 781.9 billion Guyana dollars. Then they came back on July 20th and we passed a supplementary paper. Was both for monies taken from the consolidated fund and the contingency fund, amounting to 26 billion. So when you add that, we already gone over the 800 billion mark. Then, on Wednesday, we approved 61 billion Guyana dollars. Now the big question many are asking, where are the monies going? One friend of mine just early this week said to me, you know, Annette, I am feeling this oil money. These people passing all this money through the parliament, but it is not trickling down. It is not trickling down. And you know, this is what some of the considerations, some of the agencies that were considered at Thursday's sitting. And let me just pull up the actual paper, because I thought I walked with it, but I didn't put it in my pile, right? So for the financial paper, as I said before, you had the Ministry of the Office of the Prime Minister. The Office of the Prime Minister, they came back for monies going to the subsidies and contributions to local organizations. So the local organizations in February, they got 4.9 billion Guyana dollars. Then they came back on Wednesday. We approved 927 million and change. So when the questions were put, the answers that were given to us, because the Prime Minister, Mr. Mark Phillips, wasn't in the house. Apparently he was on travel duties. So it was Dr. Ashney Singh who responded in his absence. So we were told that this $927 million was actually going to assist the Latam Power Company with additional fuel to run their operations there in region number 9. They also received an additional 45 million and change, and this was basically for renewable energy improvement power system project. So basically additional monies went to undertake some activity that they were doing under this particular head. Then we had gas to power project. I want you to listen to me carefully. Gas to power project, you know, where they're trying to bring the pipeline, you know, set up the gas, to have the gas come through the pipeline. And I think they were this money was actually passed for the T&D, which means technical and for distribution purposes, right? So in February, 43 billion was approved in February of 2023. Then they came back on Wednesday there. We approved an additional 5 billion and change. Mind you, the questions were put, but for me, and I guess many of my other colleagues, we weren't comfortable with the responses given. Reason being, this is a major project that is currently being funded by taxpayers. This 43 billion came out from the consolidated funds. Now this additional 5 billion came out from the consolidated fund, of which you, the taxpayers, are funded. I recall in 2021, when this particular project was under scrutiny for the 2021 budget, we were promised, the House was promised by Mr. Mark Phillips, that the design, everything related to this gas to power project was going to be laid in the National Assembly. My brothers and sisters, they came back in February. We approved the 43 billion. We asked those very questions. We asked for the promised documents to be laid in the National Assembly so we can scrutinize to see how this money is being expended. They did not. Perhaps they came in on Wednesday there. We asked the same questions and also reminded them of the promise they made concerning the tabling of these documents, the studies, everything we asked for. My brothers and sisters, again, promises were made. But let us see whether they will deliver this time. But something is definitely wrong. The Office of the Prime Minister, again, for receive subsidies and contributions, the MDMA, that is the National Data Management Authority, right? They got 648 million in February. No, sorry. They got 2 billion plus 2.4 billion in February. And they came back in August seeking an additional sum of 648 million and change. Remember, these people got into recess. So monies probably had to pass in order for them to splurge. Because I don't believe that the monies are meeting the needs of our people. That is why, as parliamentarians, it is our responsibility, with the assistance of you, the people in the public, to watch them. We gotta watch them. We gotta walk behind the money. We gotta follow where the monies are going. That is why it is our responsibility to educate you and to inform you, because many people don't really follow the workings and the business of the National Assembly, right? So despite us not having the majority, we little 31 in number, and they got a little 32 with, you know, the one China always joining with them, the one China party always joining with them to pass these things. But we still holding their feet to the fire when it comes to the public purse. Right? Good. The other ministry that benefited from a supplementary was the Ministry of Finance. Right? Ministry of Finance, Public Financial Management, Policies and Services. And in February, they got 224 million and change. Now they came back. They came now, or they come now in August there, Wednesday. We approved $350 million. When the questions were asked, kindly disaggregate how this $350 million, or what's the purpose for this $350 million? Ashley Singh stood up because he was responding. Oh, you know, it is already out in the public domain that the families of the victims who were burnt in the Madhya Inferno, that they will be getting some amount of monies. But we know it's 5 million they reported in the press, according to Anil Nandalal. So 5 million going to each family who suffered a burnt victim. And the other, I think 3 million, they said, will be disbursed to families whose child or children was or were injured in that fire. So I want to say to the people, the residents in region number 8 in Madhya, if you're listening to me via social media or on television, keep an eye out. They said we pass the monies. We pass the monies so that the families can get the 5 million and the other families can get the 3 million, which is quite an unfortunate thing. Because as I'm speaking on the Madhya situation, I now allow me to parallel this particular point. The other commissioners took their oath yesterday, right, as commissioners, or it might have been Wednesday afternoon, sorry. Get it mixed up with the dates. So, apart from Joe Singh as the chairman of the Commission of Inquiry, you have attorney at law Kim Kite Thomas, who is a commissioner and will be serving on the commission. And besides Kim Kite Thomas, there's a Tushao, trying to recall his name here, who will also be sitting on the commission. But what is strange to me, that's why we have been saying, and we will continue to say, is that despite these people are saying a one Guyana, which they want to subject us into, they're not practicing what they want us to be subjected into, this one Guyana farce. Because the people on that commission, I would say that they're politically aligned. They're politically aligned. If you really want a commission to bring out the truth and to also proper recommendations from their findings or suggestions from their findings. They will do that without being biased, without being unfair, without them showing any kind of, partiality. So I believe what should have happened, as we have been saying, is that it would have been good for the leader of the opposition to also be a part of the identification or the approving of persons to sit on that commission. This is not a commission that you should be playing with. This incident, this Madia incident, shouldn't be something we should take lightly. Lives were lost. Innocent lives were lost. 19 young females had their lives snuffed out with that lone young man. So 20 lives in total were lost. And I believe if we want to pursue truth, we must ensure that credible people, honest people, should be on that commission rather than persons being there to probably dance to their political master's guidance, right? So all I can say for this time at this time is that Guyana will now wait to see what those recommendations would look like. Guyana will now wait to hear what are the findings, right? And I trust we will also wait to hear what best advice going forward, or what actions the government should take to avert or avoid such another deadly situation from showing its ugly head. Look, the commission, the mere fact the government in the person of Adel Nandalal went out there to say to the nation that, the government will pay 5 million and 3 million respectively to the families. You've actually cornered, put the commission or the commissioners of the commission, back against the wall. Because in no way will the final report say to the government that, well, look, we believe that X amount of monies should be given to each family because of X, Y, Z. By virtue of the Attorney General did what he did on behalf of the government, it is difficult. It is difficult for the commissioners to pronounce on a cost for each family. So this 350 million passed on Wednesday, according to Dr. Ashley Singh, is to help with the payments of the Madhya Inferno. So I just want to alert you, my viewers and listeners, if you know of friends and families in Madhya, please call them and let them know 350 million, a portion of the 350 million will go towards offsetting some amount of monies for the families, right? Good. The Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. And this ministry was once headed by a man which we must never ever forget, and they really want us to forget. Mr. Nigel Dharamlal, the gentleman who it has been alleged was involved in sodomy and rape, as reported and alleged, right? As reported and alleged. So since his resignation, that ministry now, for the meanwhile, is being managed by one, you don't ever hear of him. That's probably he making no sense in the ministry. Mr. Anand Prasad. And you know, he was so miserable on Wednesday. To provide basic responses to basic and simple of questions put to him. He couldn't provide a proper answer. So that ministry came in for the project development and assistance. $1 billion was approved in February. Came back under this very line item for a further $300 million. Now, out of this $300 million, this is monies that ought to be disbursed across the 70 NDCs and the other 10 municipalities, because you have about 80 local authority areas, right? So you have 70 NDCs and the 10 municipalities. So what would normally happen is that these NDCs and the municipalities, is this money here, this 300 million, is basically a subvention. But in order for them to get the subvention, they would have to submit like a program detailing what projects they would want to have rolled out in their respective areas, right? And it is the Ministry of Local Government that has to do the disbursement of these monies. So when my colleague, the Honorable Ganesh Mahipal, put the question to Anand Prasad, and you know, other colleagues too, you had questions coming from yours truly, Madam Valda Lawrence, and a few other colleagues who asked the question, all right, how this money gonna be disbursed? Tell us how much of this 300 million going to the 70 NDCs across this country. Tell us for the 9 municipalities, was their disbursement? Disaggregate this 300 million for us, right? And we asked him how much of this money will be going towards the township of Georgetown, the mayor city council here on Georgetown. I tell you, you wouldn't believe the responses given. Oh, I got layover. And then you're telling people about AP and you knock off 7 over 7. We don't want to hear that trash. When you're in the National Assembly and dealing with taxpayers' money, serious business. Because we want to know how these monies are being disbursed, what programs or projects these monies will be catering for, so that we can go back to our constituents and say, well, look, the local authority area, whether in Golden Grove, Haslington, NDC, will be getting a little $2 million. Right? And the $2 million is to do XYZ across the NDC. So I who live in, or persons who are living in that NDC area, they must be able to watch out and see what projects, if indeed the 2 million project is being rolled out in their areas. That is how the monies have to be accounted for and must be accounted for. So when Anand Prasad gonna get in the National Assembly and telling people trash, we wouldn't accept that. And then you have a man who calls himself the Speaker of the House, who always butting in like Wednesday. He always could tell you, oh, what the minister attempted to say, or what the minister is trying to say, or what question you trying to ask. No, me want you help me, Mr. Speaker. I don't want your help. Allow us to ask our questions and allow the ministers to respond to the questions. Don't be a gatekeeper for them, because you're protecting them. But he was very nice to us, because, you know, last week I did mention to you that in past times, when you ask on monies already budgeted, questions on how much percentage of the monies already budgeted was spent, he used to stop you in your tracks. But on Wednesday, he allowed us some degree of latitude. So on the 1 billion, when you ask what percentage of the 1 billion that was voted in February was spent as at June month 2023, you're hearing figures like 13%, 26%, and you coming back for more money? More money? But you remember I tell you, they're gone into 2 months recess, so they can't come back to the parliament for money. So before you go into recess, let me bring a financial paper. Let me bring a financial paper so we could get some money, so they're going to utilize some of these very monies to go into communities. Not following the laws, not following the systems, bypassing elected officials to say they're going to residents and splurging the monies, paying people handouts. Well, you know, the other ministry, the other area that got monies under this particular ministry of local government was the regional economic transformation. In February, they got 1.5 billion Guyana dollars. Right? They came back for a further 250 million Guyana dollars. Right? So the first 1.5 that was approved was basically these projects where, you know, people across communities in the various regions can apply for like it's like a grant. If you got an economic plan, right, or a proposal through the SLED program, and that is something that we, the coalition government, designed to help vulnerable communities, right? Whether it's with a baker shop, whether it's a startup, you know, groups coming together, or group coming together to, you know, to do some economic drive or something to sustain themselves through the sustainable, lively entrepreneur development. You can access a grant from the government to roll out your programs or your project. So 1.5 billion approved in 20 February. They came now for 250 million. When we asked the question, how many applications are there? How many persons applied across the various regions? Give us a disaggregated figure. Oh no, that too was hard for the minister to respond. We got to tell me about app knew this and app knew that and who had this, and I don't want to hear that. We coming to discuss the additional sums being sought. We need answers to these questions, right? Good. So, under the Ministry of Agriculture, and I want to pay keen attention to this, under the Ministry of Agriculture, they got monies, subsidies, and contributions to local organizations. In February, they got $16 billion. They now come back for $2.9 billion, right? Good. For National NDIA, remember the guy, Mr. Woodworth, I think is his name, the CEO for the NDIA. Remember when the coalition came into government, we had, you know, phased out some of these people because they were involved in nefarious activities, as alleged, you know, nefarious activities. So some of them were set to go. But when these people came back, The same man is now back heading the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority. And as reported, the people telling you on the ground, a lot of corruption taking place in this particular area here. So, in February, they got $6 billion. You hear what I'm telling you? In February? February, March, April, May, June, July, 6 months after, these people coming back for an additional $4 billion Guyana dollars. $4 billion. When you ask the questions, you getting the appropriate responses you're looking for. But the man and the woman on the ground, if you visit communities, they will tell you what's going on. If the HIMAC got to work in this community, the HIMAC working on somebody's private land, all of these things going on, the people are talking. But people are afraid to speak out. So we as their parliamentary representative, we have to speak for them. Right? The other area that got some money under Ministry of Agriculture is the Guyana Livestock Development Authority. They got 75 million. 75 million in February. 6 months after, they're coming back for 100 million. Now tell me. And the explanation for most of these monies that they were seeking for, here are the explanations. Provision of additional resources to facilitate pasture development in regions 2, 3, 5, and 10. Now, my brothers and sisters, this in itself will say to you that where budget planning is concerned, these people ain't got the competence to do proper budgeting. Because I cannot see $75 million was actually approved 6 months prior and 6 months after you coming back to request for an additional 100 million. And this is just for August month, When the National Assembly comes out of recess in October, I bet my last dollar that they will come for more monies before the end of the month. So if the Parliament meets 2 times in the month of October, they're going, we're going to get a little delay. Then they're going to come back in November. We keep, the whole one session. Then they're going to come back, probably in December, close to Christmas, close to Christmas. They're going to lay a fourth financial paper asking for more monies to spend when at the end of the year, every financial year, the books of the government ministries got to close by the 31st of December. By the 31st of December, we have had instances in this 12th Parliament where the government came in December for billions. Billions they came for. And when we asked, all right, how you spending this money in 10 days? What magic y'all gonna work to spend this money in 10 days just before the close of the year, the end of year? And they're going to stand dance and they're going to give all the necessary explanations. But because of them many might be questioning, well, what the opposition doing about it? We're doing a whole lot of things about it. Because we're exposing on programs like these. You got the leader of the opposition, he has his his weekly press conference in which he brings out many of the concerns. You got In the Ring with my brother Sherrod. You got Advancing the Cause with Coretta McDonald. You got Nima Flew Best with her parliamentary representative, or the people's representative that comes every Saturday. Then you got Building Bridges with Natasha Singh Lewis. You understand me? So truly, and you know, we write a lot of letters in the print media. We utilize our Facebook, whether Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, to tweet and let people know exactly what is happening. You understand me? Corruption too much. So they got too much money to spend, and they're spending it in a wild way, right? This is the one I want to go to. Under the Ministry of Agriculture, contribution to local cooperation. And when I say local cooperation, I know you know what I'm talking about. Local cooperation means Gaisuku. Gaisuku, in February of this year, got $2 billion. $2 billion. 6 months after, Gaisuku now asking for 1.5, over 50%. Over 50% what they got in February, 1.5 billion they're asking for. And you know what is happening? Remember the promise to open all the estates the coalition government closed. You understand me? They promised to open. Set periods were given. But a day like today, not one estate has reopened under this People's Progressive Party Civic. But what they continue to do is to inject money into a failed company called the Gaisuku, Ghana Sugar Corporation. We know that sugar is not doing so well. That is why, as a coalition government, we had taken a position to right-size the cooperation because of what was happening. You keep injecting billions into Gaisuku and you're not getting the required returns from its operation. You would know, many years ago, they under the People's Progressive Party Civic, more so Mr. Barra Jagdeo, who was president, went and he borrowed monies, tie up taxpayers into borrowing monies, over 260 million US dollars to build a brand new sugar estate, Skeldon Sugar Factory. And we know that is a white elephant. We were promised that tons of sugar will be produced within one day. Well, the white elephant, it never produced the estimated tonnage of sugar. But you know what? We continue to feed Gaisuku, and we're not getting the desired benefits out from Gaisuku. But they got $2 billion in February, now coming back for $1.5 billion. And many of the workers will tell you that they are not getting the benefits. Now, Miss Ferguson, we hear, MP Ferguson, we hear y'all, you know, approving billions into, putting billions into Gaisuku. But you know what? We ain't getting proper benefits. We ain't getting no proper wage or salaries out of this money that y'all giving to us. Where are the monies going? But my simple response would be, is that the National Assembly approved the monies, and obviously the money's got to be with Gaisuku to do exactly what it has been appropriated for. What it has been appropriated for. But you know what? They continue to inject into Gaisuku. But the public servants, they ain't injecting nothing for public servants. The teachers, they ain't injecting nothing for teachers. The nurses, they ain't injecting anything for the nurses. You understand me? Public servants, teachers, nurses, they are as equally important as sugar workers. So why you continue to treat one set of workers, give them special treatment, and the other set, you're not giving special treatment? Is this really the one Guyana you talked about? Can't be. It cannot be. So, to date, since they came into government 3 years after, you know what was public servants' increase? 7%. 7% in 3 years. Only 7% sugar workers, public servants receive. And I'm saying to you, Guyana, because I have so much to talk about tonight, but I will continue to share on what this regime has been doing. I will continue to bring to you and to, dissect this supplementary paper and provide you with the necessary information regarding their responses and all manner of things. Because I know my time has caught up with me. But before I bring the curtains down, I just want to make this announcement. Let me just get, yes. So I just want to make this announcement on behalf of the Coffee 250 committee, right? They will be hosting their 10th annual forum, and the topic that they will be discussing, which seems quite interesting to me, and I trust I would have, some time to go and listen to the various discussions by presenters. So the topic up for discussion would be the state of African Guyanese in a one-sided one Guyana. You hear me? The state of African Guyanese in a one-sided one Guyana. And this will be held on Sunday, that's day after tomorrow, the 13th of August, 2023, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And they have a whole line of speakers here, right? So Aubrey Compton Norton, the leader of the PNCR and also the leader of the opposition, will be one of the presenters. You have Mr. Vincent Alexander, who is a GCOM commissioner. He will be another presenter. Then you have former magistrate, attorney at law, Sister Dawn Kush Holder. Then you have brother Dr. David Hines from the WPA. We have renowned lawyer, Mr. Nigel Hughes. We also have Kimani Nesu. I think he's a professor by profession. And then we have Paul Slow, former assistant commissioner of police, Paul Slow. And the venue is the Critchlow Labour College Auditorium, right? The Critchlow Labour College Auditorium. They're on Wolford Avenue. So please, ladies and gentlemen, if you have the time on Sunday, an invitation is extended to you on behalf of the Coffee 250, the 10th forum, and they will be discussing the state of the African people in a one-sided, let me just ensure I get it straight, right? Yeah, the state of African Guyanese in a one-sided one Guyana, right? So please ensure that you be a part of that session on Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Critchlow Labour College. So with those few words, my time has, time has caught up with me. It's never, 1 hour is never too much, man. You need more hours to have, you know, a program like this where you can really educate our people. But that being said, I just want to thank you very much for joining me here this evening for another episode of Let's Talk with Annette. I do look forward to you joining me next Wednesday for, you know, regular program time from 7 to 8 p.m. next Wednesday, all being equal. So with those few words, I just want to say, do have a blessed weekend. May God continue to bless you. May God continue to bless your family. And may God continue to bless our beautiful nation, Guyana. Ta-ta! You take out a picture, you know.
Oh my God.
Well, you need to do so now.
Coming up.
Uh-huh.
I setting up this playlist for all night till tomorrow 4 o'clock, so they'll kind of throw me off there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So quick, you come telling me for wrap up.
No, they're calling at the back end there. Yeah. I see those nice pictures who take it out of Milton. When that you was on the side of one place or something.
Probably.
They look so professional, like. I'm saying that.
Is who called Auntie?
Kevin.
What Kevin saying?
He's saying it out that nonsense.
Oh.
At night.
All right, good.